Okay. So the first thing, let's touch up on the very basic aspect, that is happiness. Yeah. We we all want to become happy. Yeah. There is nobody who would want to become sad. Do we have anybody in the group who wants to become sad? There wouldn't be any. So every time a person goes to a temple, he asks something from the god. And what does he generally ask? Those things which can make him happy. We have never heard of people who go and ask for, oh God, please give me some injury. Please let me have food poisoning, or let my house be robbed, something like that. Yeah, nobody does that. Right? We all want basically to become happy, and that is the reason why people generally ask something from God which can make them happy. But how do we define happiness? Anybody can you talk about what according to you is the definition of happiness? Anybody, please unmute yourself and let this class be interactive, and you can speak. What according to you is happiness? Can someone attempt?
Yes, Prabhuji. Happiness probably for me is peace and harmony. Right.
Okay, peace and harmony. Correct. Nice. Anyone else? Any other definition?
Yeah, happiness is a state of mind that comes by choice, not by chance. So it should not be based out of situation. It is our own. It should be our own choice to be happy, or whatever state we want to be. So
Okay.
it's one of the state of mind.
Okay. Now, can I ask a counter question on this one? Let's say a person is having cancer. Okay, it's the last stage of cancer. Doctor has mentioned that it is not at all possible to be cured, and this person is facing a lot of pain inside the body. Do you think this person will be able to become happy? If you ask him, "Are you happy?" What is the higher probability? He will say, "No, I am not happy," right? Because of the pain that he is undergoing. Let's
Yeah,
yeah, let's say a
yeah.
person has met with an accident, a car has hit this person, and his body is bleeding. Will he be able to say, "I am happy"? Because it is not possible for him to become happy in the huge amount of pain that he is undergoing at that moment. So if happiness is a state
Mm.
of mind, that mind was there with him even before the accident and even after the accident. So in such a scenario, why would this person not be happy? Isn't it? So what according,
Because
yeah, please.
it's okay, no, I listen.
Okay. So what do you all think could be happiness? I think one answer we saw peace and harmony. Another answer we saw state of mind. Yeah. And both the answers have their own, angles by which we can interpret that that is not necessarily happiness. So any third answer do we have? Yeah, Rohit Prabhuji, yes.
Hi, morning. Good
Mo-
morning. I read a very nice quote. Actually, it was mentioned as happiness is equal to health plus wealth plus good relationship.
Health plus
So
wealth.
that's the
Sorry, what is the
plus
third?
good relationship. Good
Good,
relationship.
good relationship. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to understand this one. Yeah. So we see a lot of people who have a very healthy body, and some of them are some good boxers and good fighters as well. So they have health and they participate in a lot of competitions as well. So they earn money as well, right? Let's say Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, we know, was one of the world's greatest all-time boxers, right? So of course he has the
Yes,
best of
correct.
health. And wealth-wise, every bout that he used to win, he used to earn millions of dollars at those times, so 15, 20 years back. So 15-20 years back, this person is earning millions of dollars. So wealth wise also he is very well to do. Yeah. And he may have had good relations, some bad, some good relationship. But can we say that he is happy? Not necessary, right? He will have his own other share of other
Yeah,
problems.
not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe there are perspectives. From certain perspective, he is happy, health wise, wealth
Yeah.
wise. There are from other perspective, he is not happy. So happiness, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, please continue.
Eternally, whatever I believe, these are anyways the thoughts, but what I believe is if you are peaceful with yourself
Hmm.
as a state of mind, then you are content and happy.
Correct.
So if you are,
Very good point. Yes. So if you are peaceful inside, you are happy. So how do we get this peace? So this peace is also being generated or extracted out of certain situations, right? If let's say I have a very demanding boss expecting me to work for 14 to 16 hours a day, every day when I go to office, he gives me all the bad words that he can. I have loans as well on my head because of which I can't leave the job. Let's say COVID situation was such some time back that people were losing jobs, so getting a new one was also impossible. In such a scenario, will I be peaceful? Very high, low probability, right? So let's look at what are the factors which determine happiness. Okay. So I would rate this as absence of problems as factor of happiness. So if I have problems, then I would say that I am not happy because I am not peaceful. And if I do not have problems, I would call myself as happy, right? So who all agree to this statement or who all do not agree to this statement? So in that case, let's look at what is a problem. What according to you, can anybody unmute yourself and say what according to you is a problem? Anybody, please. We'll have this
And
interactive. Yeah.
anything that is taking your peace of mind away, something that's causing a lot of stress or always making you think or
Okay.
overthink is
And
a problem.
what could be an example of that?
For example, like you mentioned, like some say a boss in office
Huh.
constantly shouting at the subordinate, uh, or somebody in the family is not well, and that's causing you stress because of the
Correct.
health
Correct. Correct.
somebody. So
Any, yeah, any other problem anyone else is able to think of?
Uh, we we can say that it is आदि भौतिक, आदि दैविक
Hmm.
यानी आध्यात्मिक दुख जो
Yeah,
होते हैं वो तीनों
correct.
का निवृत्ति हो जाए तो उसको हम लोग कह सकते कि हम सुखी है.
Okay, very good point. We will come to that, which we will call that as miseries and not problems. Just a redefinition of the word. But we will come to that discussion after this slide. We will be talking about it. Yeah. And anyone else, any other problem? Can you think of? No, we actually face a lot of problems. So these are the only two examples, right? But let's look at the types of problems. So there are these relative problems. Like for example, we took the example of the boss being very demanding and always using bad words for a particular person. But I don't work in that company. So I don't have such a boss. So then if that person is facing this problem because of that boss, I don't face that problem. So is it my problem? No, it is not my problem. It is that person's problem, not my problem. So your problems are not necessarily my problems, and my problems are not necessarily your problems, which we call it as relative problems. Correct? And then there are these real problems. Okay. So what do you define as real problem? Okay. So something which is not mine, but your problem is not a problem for me. And something which is my problem, but not your problem is not a problem for you. So that's why we need to look at those problems which are real problems and not relative problems, right? So how do we define real problems? That something which is everybody's problem. Yeah. Meaning each and every person on earth is facing that problem. That is a real problem. So which means nobody can say this is not my problem. And everybody will say, yes, I am also facing, this is my problem also. That we can term as real problem. Yeah.
Like COVID.
COVID was a problem for those who were infected by it, but not necessarily for other person's problem. Yes, there was inconvenience, but
Yeah.
not a problem as such. But
Mm.
indirectly, what you said is perfect, and we will come to it definitely. Yeah. So another point, another factor of defining a problem, nobody wants it. Yeah, we talked about it, and nobody goes to the temple and asks the Lord, oh God, give me problem. Yeah. So such a problem which is there with everybody, but nobody wants it. And the third factor is nobody can avoid it, meaning everybody gets it. Meaning you try whatever you can, you do whatever you can, but you cannot avoid that problem. And not just we, each and every person in the world can try as hard as possible to avoid it, but they cannot, and everybody gets it. Now, can you think of such problems? What are they? Any example? What is an example of a problem which meets all three criteria? It is for everybody, everybody gets it, nobody wants it, nobody can avoid it. It's everyone's problem.
I think sickness
Very good, very nice. Yeah, very good.
and death.
Perfect, excellent, excellent. These are two which you mentioned. There are two more. Anybody? So let's see what are the real problems. The first is birth. Now, many of you say, how is birth a problem? Yeah. So just logically also, if you look at it, the way the child is positioned in the womb, it causes a lot of problems for the child. We may say scientifically, womb is the safest place for a child. Yeah, that's very much possible. Yes, you're right. Scientifically, yes. But from a Shastra perspective, no. And secondly, why did we take birth? If we go into the spiritual aspect of it, then we will understand that birth is a problem. Everybody is born and nobody wants that birth. Why? We will look at this when we move into Bhagavad Gita. We will look at the circumstances in which one takes a birth and why that is a problem. I'm not going into the Bhagavad Gita verses now, as I mentioned earlier. But birth is a problem because everything that happens subsequently in the life is caused because one is born in this earth. Had somebody not been born, he would not have faced all of these problems. Then old age. Yeah. Some people may die young, that's a different story. But otherwise, if that dying young is not happening in somebody's case, then they will ensure that it will automatically happen that they will become old at a certain point of time. Nobody wants to become old. Yeah, there was this model, I think American model or English model, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe. She was a very famous model many decades back. So when she realized that she is becoming old, she wanted to avoid old age. and she took poison and she committed suicide. So this is how people fear old age, yeah, especially the people who want youth to be there with them throughout their life, which is practically not possible. So old age, nobody can avoid. Even animals and trees become old. Disease, as one of you said, disease like COVID and something like that. Health is a problem. So diseases, everybody falls ill. Nobody can avoid it. Nobody wants to fall ill. And the last one, as you mentioned, death. So death, nobody wants to die, but everybody dies, and nobody can avoid it. So these are the real problems of life that we face today. Now let's look at miseries. So in addition to these problems, we have something called as miseries, which we all face. Okay. And as Gayatri Mataji mentioned, three types of miseries are there: Adhyatmic, Adhibhautik, and Adhidaivik. Okay. So what is Adhyatmic? So those miseries which are caused by our own body and our own mind, that those miseries are called as Adhyatmic miseries. So sometimes we fall ill, or we fall down and we hurt ourselves, or there are stress, as one of you mentioned, we have a lot of stress. Yeah, so stress is a product of our mental state, and we take stress and then that causes a lot of other problems to us. So these are the Adhyatmic miseries. Then there are Adhibhautik miseries. What are they? They are those miseries which are caused by other living entities to us. So let's say we are walking and a person comes and shouts at us for no reason. So he is causing, or he may even slap us also, and he is causing some misery to us. Let's say we are walking and a dog bites us. So we did not do anything to the dog. We didn't even throw a stone to that dog, and the dog bites us. So these are those miseries which are caused to us by other living entities. Some insect may bite us. So these are the adhibhautik kind of miseries. And then there are adhidaivik miseries, which are natural disturbances which are caused by the godly people, like the too much of rain, too much of heat, there is famine in some place, there is flood somewhere, tsunami happening somewhere, or lightning is there. So these kind of miseries which are caused by natural disturbances, they are called as Adidaivik miseries. Yeah. Anybody has any questions so far? No? Okay, fine. So I'll move on. So now let's look at what do you think? Can our material advancement resolve the real problems or the miseries that we talked about? So there are these four real problems we talked about and three types of miseries we talked about. Who thinks that our material advancement can resolve these problems or miseries? Anybody? Nobody, right? No one thinks that way. Yeah, that's correct. So we have been advancing materially a lot, but nobody has been able to avoid their birth. Nobody has been able to avoid their death. We don't see people who are living for thousands and thousands of years. Nobody has been able to avoid old age if they have not died young. Yeah. And nobody has been able to avoid diseases. Nobody says that not a single natural disturbance can create any problem to me. Not a single other living entity has created problem to me. Not a single Adhyatmic misery has caused a problem to me. So all these 4+3 types of problems and miseries have impacted each and every person despite the huge amount of material advancement that we have made so far. You all agree to it? Anybody has any thought around this one? No? Okay, fine. So let's move on now. Okay. Now let's come to the main question. Why do we face problems and why do we suffer miseries? What do you think? What do you think is the answer to this? Anybody?
Karma, past karma.
Yes, very good. Yeah. So past karma, right? So how do you define the word past?
That has happened maybe in the previous lives or maybe in the past. In this,
Okay. Before we go on to the discussion, since I can see the names, we all are Hindus in this group right now, right?
yeah.
So how many of you believe that there is rebirth and how many of you believe there is no rebirth? What do you think?
There is rebirth.
There is, right? Who thinks there is no rebirth? Anybody? Anybody thinks there is no rebirth? No, right? Okay. But do we have any evidence of rebirth or at least a logical explanation of rebirth? If somebody comes and challenges you that there is no rebirth, how do you disprove them? How do you prove it to them that yes, there is rebirth? If not with evidential proof, you can at least prove them by logic. Can somebody mention that? Anybody? You can see a lot of silence everywhere. Rohit Prabhu ji, Gayatri Mataji, anybody?
I think I can't say that it is a rebirth. पुनर्जन्म तो नहीं, लेकिन जन्म पे जन्म हो जाता है, इस बात के लिए विश्वास है.
Yeah, which is Punarjanma basically.
Okay.
So Punarjanma, you might be thinking from a human birth perspective, but Janma ke upar Janma is like whichever body we get, but it's the same soul that is traveling, right? Anybody else? Any other opinion? No? Okay. Fine. Let's look at one short story. Okay. Story of rich parents and poor parents. So there was a village in which two families lived. One family, husband and wife, they were very wealthy. Generations and generations of people can survive on the money that they already had. They, even if they stopped working, that level of richness was there. But they did not have a child. So that's why, despite completing 10 years of marriage, they were sad and they always wanted a child, but they did not get for so many years. Then there is another family, very poor. You know, for them, making both ends meet, being able to earn their daily bread was very difficult. But they had already had 5 children. And now, then on one certain day, both these parents, both these families came to know that the wife has conceived. So for the first, the rich parents, the wife was conceiving for the first time, and for the poor ones, she was conceiving for the sixth time. Now, in those homes, the environment was completely opposite. The rich parents were very happy, and they started making plans for the child. We will do this, we will do that, we will have a separate room for him, we'll bring so many toys, clothes, and all that stuff. Yeah. And in the other family, they were like, very sad. Another child is getting born. Yeah, they did not know how to feed the existing 5 children, and now another sixth one is born. So they were very sad. Now it is very much obvious that the future life of the child, which will be born to the rich parents, is very superb. I mean, very fantastic. One would probably envy such a life. And the life of the child born to the poor parents will be worthless. not worth even describing also. He may not get sufficient food to eat. He will always have to do work even when he's a small child. He will always get beatings and bad words from both the parents. That way, kind of life. And to avoid the aspect of astrology coming into picture here, let's assume for the moment in the same village, on the same date, at the same time, both these children are born. Now, what do we understand from this example? Why, despite having the exact same astrological chart, why is the life of both the children, even before they are born, so starkly contrast? So that brings us to the first concept of karma. So their karma of the children, of both the children, was such that the child born to the rich parents must have done very good karma, which he is now enjoying by being born to the rich parents. And the other one is actually going to suffer for his bad karma by being born to these poor parents. I'm not saying children of all poor parents is that way, and children of all rich parents have good karma. Nothing like that. It's just an example. Okay. And when we go further in Bhagavad Gita, especially in the 6th chapter, you will understand that the parents' wealth is not the factor of determination of whether a birth is good or bad. When Arjuna asks a question to Krishna, we will see to it that. Yeah. Now let's take another small example. So we will understand this in a little better detail. Okay. There is a match going on between India and Pakistan. And let's say a very important match is happening, a cricket match. And a person, he enters the stadium and he sees not a single ball is bowled. Yeah, it's just 9 o'clock in the morning. Not a single ball has been bowled. But Pakistan already has 300 runs on the scoreboard and with a loss of 0 wickets. And then this person starts shouting, how is it possible? ICC is very partial. How is it possible that Pakistan, without a single ball being bowled, Pakistan is getting awarded by 300 runs and not a single wicket has fallen? How is it possible? Then somebody pats on his back and says, cool down, my friend. This is a test match. This is not a one day. Then he realizes, oh my God, 2 innings have already happened. India and Pakistan have batted 1 inning each. And now this is the second inning. So Pakistan scored 300 runs more than India in the first innings, because of which they carried over that lead into the second innings. Now this concept or this example we can apply in our life to say that somebody is driving a BMW and somebody is finding it difficult to even buy a bicycle. Somebody is born as beautiful as, say, for example, Aishwarya Rai, and somebody is born in such a manner that that person prefers to hide his face. Somebody is born as strong as Mike Tyson and somebody is handicapped, is not able to even walk properly. Somebody is born as talented as Sachin Tendulkar, is becomes so wealthy also, and somebody doesn't have any talent. He can't even hold a bat properly. He does not have anything. Somebody is born to parents like Ambani and Adani and similar people, and somebody is born to very, very poor parents who can't even buy a small bread also. So then when we go deeper into understanding this one as to why did this happen to them, what can possibly explain that even before the birth of that child, the destiny was already written? Why was he born in such an environment where he will have so many difficulties, he will not be able to even get meal for 2 times a day? Whereas somebody will be throwing parties of thousands and thousands and millions of dollars. Now this is a question that should automatically come to us as to why did this happen? If God exists, then why does he allow such a big disparity in the society? Either God exists or God doesn't exist? If God doesn't exist and if this disparity is there, we can understand. But we all believe God exists, right? So then why does this disparity happen? Now let's take just one more example. Okay, let's take an example where uh, let's say I'm walking on the street. Somebody comes and he gives me a tight slap on my face. A big tight slap. Now I will be wondering as to why did this person hit me? And maybe my reaction would be to hit him back again. Correct? Now, what is happening here? There is an action and there is a reaction. It was not unnecessary that the person felt like hitting me. We did not even see each other in our life before, whole of life. He doesn't know me by name. I did not do anything which will instigate him to hit me. But still that person came and hit me. And now if I am hitting him back, what am I doing? There is an action to which I am giving a reaction. Okay. Now let's go back, say for example, one life. And then if we rewind, maybe we will understand that in the previous life, I had hit him, because of which that reaction is now coming to me. So what has happened now? I did an action to which I faced a reaction, but I forgot that this action was ever done by me. Now I'm considering this reaction alone as the action, and now I consider it as a right to give reaction to this action. So I'm creating a new action now, and this action will be responded by him sometime, either in this life or next life or sometime, as a reaction. And this chain of action and reaction and action and reaction will now continue, which should be broken. That breaking of the action and reaction chain is only possible when we tolerate what happens to us by accepting it as a reaction to some of my karma in my previous life. When we ignore the karma aspect, we think that I did not deserve this, because of which I am entitled to react to that particular action. So this is in very short, this is basically karma. We will go into much meaning deeper into this one when we go into the second chapter and third chapter. So for the moment, I will basically stop here on the topic of karma. Now let's take a small example. So we say that karma has to be done because of which somebody suffers in certain life. So when does the karma start? Those people who do not believe in rebirth, they think that the karma starts when the birth has taken place. So which means what? When the child comes out of the mother's womb, at that point the karma starts. That's logical. But we see that abortions happen. A child is killed in the mother's womb even before he is born into this world. He is there in the mother's stomach, in the womb, but he has not come out into the world, at least not out of the mother's womb. So then such a child, such a small child who doesn't even know anything, how can he create karma to be able to deserve a punishment such as death within the mother's womb? That child's eyes have not opened, he has not breathed even a single iota of air also. But still, the doctor or the person who aborts the child pinches the head of that child in tongs and kills that baby. Such a ghastly death it has to undergo. For what? He has not done a single activity. Where does this come into picture? Where does this kind of punishment come into picture? So there we can understand, when we look at life as originating from birth and terminating at death, then we will not get answer to these questions. Only when we look at life before birth and after death, then we will start understanding that life is not just this particular life at all. It is much more than that. That is where the concept of reincarnation comes into picture. So we know we were existing before this life and we will exist after this life is over also. So what exists? Now let's look at this point. Yeah. When we know, right, when in Hindus, when a person dies, the body is burnt. If the body is burnt, then where is the question of we existing before this body and we will exist after the body? What do you think exists? Any idea?
Soul.
Yeah, soul, right? So that
Yeah.
means soul is something which is different from the body. Correct? Soul and body are not the same. Yeah, that's logical, right? Because the body burns and is charred to death. Is charred completely. It turns into carbon, it turns into ash and completely disintegrated. Yeah, but the soul exists. The soul, that means, was existing before we got this body, and soul will continue to exist after we leave this body. Soul and body are different, right? So that is what transmigrates from one body to another, to another, to another at death. So this is the first concept of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so soul is different, body is different. Yeah. Now, okay, I'll end here. We have almost reached 9 o'clock also. So now this is a kind of a food for thought for yourself. So next week when we meet, just think over these topics and then try to relate with yourself. We just try to relate that how these factors actually make a difference in our thought process. And next week we will go a deeper bit into the incarnation, body, soul aspect also. And if you don't have any much questions, then we can initiate Mahabharata also. Uh, any questions anybody has? And please do give me a feedback whether you felt this was meaning sufficient to make you think it was a good start, or any feedback, any suggestions, please feel free to let me know. What do you think? Was this class okay? Was this topic okay? Do you think it made you think differently? Anybody would like to comment? Nobody?
Yes, it was a good discussion.
Okay. Okay. Any suggestions, any comments? What did we do right? In case you want to write to me separately also, please feel free. Would like to have your feedback so that we can improve, do better next time. And I think Nutan has joined after our introduction was done. Would you want to unmute yourself, Nutan Mataji, and introduce yourself, please? I'm not sure whether she's able to hear me. Fine. So let us meet next week again at 8 o'clock Dubai time, 9:30 India time. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Sachin ji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
I hope this
Hare
was
Krishna.
you all enjoyed it, and please continue to join the class.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Good night.